I'm going to talk to you about why mythology is important in history. First, I had to apologize to Sean because he did a thing about my Yaku presentation, and he was trying to explain how mythology is in history and how it's not part of history or it's not important in history. And I cussed him out. Nah, I cussed him out not because of the information, because I don't care about that. I like learning. I like growing. I like finding out new stuff. But I cussed him out because he was talking about my channel. Like, I just made this channel because I was on another channel, and this is like my baby. So don't get to talking about my. You can talk about the information. You can talk about me. I'm talking about my channel. I'm more than just me on here. We talk about different things. I present different stuff. Don't do that because, like any mother and me protector of my baby, and I'm gonna go crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I did go crazy, right? And you know what I'm saying? I always can own up to if I know I did something wrong or if I feel like I was wrong and I feel like I overreacted. So I want to apologize to Sean from Science to Sean for disrespecting him and going off on him about um, his presentation or the information he was providing against my stuff because I could have handled it differently and I could have handled it like this. You know what I'm saying? The way I'm doing it now. So, from my argument, I'm saying that mythology is important in history. Um, it is important to understand the people, to understand the culture, to understand kind of what's going on at the time, why people thought a certain way, why they moved a certain way in history. It is the mythology itself is not historical. I would not say that. I'm not going to say that the timeline on this mythology, you could just trace it back to the beginning of the people or something like that and know how these people started or what. I'm not going to say that. What I'm saying is that the belief in it itself, the stories itself, the traditions that it holds definitely helps to shape a people. And that's kind of important when you're studying history, especially when it's history regarding certain people. So, um, right now I'm looking at, okay, so the myth, right? A myth is a traditional story, especially one concerning the early history of a people or explaining some natural or social phenomena and typically involving supernatural beings or events, right? Traditional stories or legends, collectively, a widely held but false belief or idea. Um, a misrepresentation of the truth, a fictitious or imaginary person or thing, an exaggerated or idealized conception of a person or thing. I'm probably talking too fast. I keep doing that, but it's cool, right? Hopefully, you understand what I'm saying. So, history is the study of past events, particularly in human affairs, the past considered as a whole, right? The whole series of past events connected with someone or something, a continuous, oh, like an eventful past. Okay, yeah, a continuous, typically chronological record of important or public events or of a particular trend or institution, a record kept by a web browser of the web pages and other files it has been used to access. Um, so, like, clearly we have history being rooted in kind of somewhat like fact, right? These are things that we can kind of prove, okay? Whether it's like the chronology of something is we know the order of events based on different things that may have been dated, whether it was written down, whether you use any other kind of scientific dating, carbon dating, something like that. We can kind of get a chronological order of things, right? Um, the series of past events connected with someone or something is the same thing. You could see the timeline of their movements, the timeline of the person's life. Same thing with past events. You know what I mean? With humans, for instance, slavery. You know what I'm saying? You see the channeling of humans from, Africa, West Africa, over to the Americas. and everything else, the timeline of it, which is significant. The timeline, the dates, you see when laws were changed to say, okay, we're not doing this anymore. You see where people still were doing it kind of and getting in trouble for it. So you see all of these things are kind of part of a historical account of something, right? Whereas when you're dealing with a myth, um, these are more traditional stories. It's usually false, right? Um, yeah, it's usually a false thing or something or a belief, right? So it's a belief, right? But as you see in like the first one is a traditional story concerning the early history of people, explaining some natural or social phenomena, typically involving supernatural beings. Why is this important in history? Well, it's important in history because these kind of beliefs, regardless of it being considered a myth or not, because we may consider something a myth now that 100 years ago was considered true, right? At the time, it wasn't considered a myth, regardless of the fact that it was one, right? And now it is considered a myth. And so when you're looking at the people of the time and why they're moving a certain way and why they're thinking a certain way, it is because of their belief in this myth. So this myth holds a place in history. And that chronological order of things that we were talking about, a myth will hold a place on that timeline. Okay? And it's going to shape the way that people were in that time based on the belief in this myth. So it has an importance in that historical account somewhere. Okay. Here. So I'm on Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm talking about mythology, right? So it says the importance of studying myth to provide a key to a human society as a matter of historical record. In the middle of the 19th century, for instance, a newly appointed British governor of New Zealand, Sir George Grey, was confronted by the problem of how to come to terms with the Maori, who were hostile to the British. He learned their language, but that proved insufficient for any understanding of the way in which they reasoned and argued. In order to be able to conduct negotiations satisfactorily, he found it necessary to study the Maori's mythology, to which they made frequent reference. Okay, so in here he has come across some new people. Okay, a new culture, and he's not getting through to them. He doesn't understand, and the reason why he's not getting through to them clearly is because of a belief that they're holding onto that makes him, somebody not to be trusted, somebody whatever, in which he can't get in. He can't break that. Okay, that's important. That's important to the history, right? It's important to how Maoris move based on what their belief system is. It makes it an important thing in that history. So how does that relate to what I was saying about Yakub and them? Well, there were some people who believed in that mythology. The NOI brought this mythology into this thing, kind of like a Black Islamic thing, where it kind of has some Islam in it, kind of has some Sumerian culture in it, and then it also has a lot of Black supremacy. Okay, tailor made to the African Americans here. Okay, we all know that we came from West Africa. That's part of history, right? The story that of Yakub is that we came from um the story of Yakub is that we came from Egypt, over there where Egypt and Mecca and all that. So that's the story that Yakub is saying. So when Master Farad brought that here, he said that they're lying to you. They're lying to you. They didn't come get you in 16 whatever over here. They came and got you in 1555 from over there. And you are the original man. Okay? You are greater than them. They are experiment gone bad. Okay? You are the embodiment of the whole everything, the spirit, the this, the that, the other. That is all you. Okay? They snatched you there, they took you over here. You've been here way longer than you think. And it's time for them to pay you back and let you go back to being the top seat, people that you're supposed to be. You know, why is that important? The NOI is still around today. The NOI got billions of dollars from outside people, right? And this is what their belief is rooted. It's rooted in this. It's like the base of their whole organization. Okay. Well, we have Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and he's based in Christianity. Um, and it's part of the reason why he believes in this nonviolence, part of the reason why he believed that we could all get along, that we could all come together. The same way they did in Christ, where he came for one people, but he ended up including everybody in the world. He felt like integration could happen. He felt like we could all, as long as we looked at the content of your character, not the color of your skin, that we would be able to do this and we should be able to overcome these challenges that our ancestors basically had to endure, and that the white people's ancestors created, right? That everybody can kind of leave that alone and come together and live in this United States, right? And then you have somebody who's completely opposed to that, and that's Malcolm X. But Malcolm X is completely opposed to that because also of his belief system. And his belief system is that white people are devils and their science experiments gone wrong by Yakub, the big head scientist. That is a belief. It has shaped why he openly and emphatically came against him and was on some totally like, you all are crazy. These people are inherently evil and we need to fight them. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So without knowing that background, without knowing any of this, you don't understand that. You don't understand that he's not being an evil man. This is his belief, right? And he is preaching it. And this is the reason why he feels like no, integration is not the key. Segregation definitely is, because we're better than them. I don't know what's wrong with you. You don't know the truth, right? So they both have these belief systems. They both have this, and it's both a part of a historical matter because they are two of the great people who came out of the civil rights movement, which we had many great people, right? But these are two main people that people talk about, and they were directly opposed to each other for a while. Okay. It's also great to realize that once Malcolm X left America and took a pilgrimage to Mecca and saw that the temperature in America was here, it wasn't everywhere. When he went there, he didn't get the same treatment from people. He didn't see the same hatred. He didn't see the same stuff that he did here. And so then he felt like, hey, maybe this is something reachable. Maybe what I was learning isn't the truth. Maybe, I should go and relook this thought process. Okay. But without knowing the thought process and why it was there, you know what I'm saying? It kind of you won't know. He just looks like some kind of bipolar man, right? So I feel like it's important to realize that part in history that it did enter into the lives of African Americans, and why so many people today still believe in that, and they still want to hold on to that because as a direct consequence of slavery and us being oppressed and feeling like we were the bottom of the barrel and the end, to have somebody come and be like, well, actually, no, you up here. You know what I'm saying? And it's not the religion that you were given by your oppressors. This is something totally different that you weren't privy to because it was from the land that you were taken from. You know what I'm saying? That sounds good. It sounds feel good like all religion. But it does hold a place in African American because it's tailor made. The story is tailor made for us because although the the timelines don't add up. You know what I'm saying? He's saying 1555 from Mecca. We know 1619 from West Africa. If I got that 1619 wrong, I don't know, but I know 1619 pretty much. Yeah, from West Africa. Okay, we know this 1555 from over there. No, they was not channeling them from over there to the Americas, and they weren't here for 400 something years in 1930. But this is what he's saying. So it made for this movement that came about, and it was a part of our civil rights movement where people were pushing for this, and they were pushing for this because of this mythology. So at that 1930 point of our civil rights movement, the mythology entered into it. Okay, and it shaped uh a lot of our leaders. When you're looking at Farrakhan, who's still here today, leading, you got Malcolm X, you got Elijah Muhammad. These people who spoke out and who also helped to shape some of the beliefs of the Black Panther Party, who were also very integral, and we still hold a lot of the stuff that they started is still into effect today as well. Right? This is important. This is part of our history. No, the story itself holds no value as far as it being the actual reason that white people exist or black people exist or that we're over here. But it does hold a part of it entered into here. It started kind of a black supremacist kind of movement that still is around today, and it shaped some of our leaders. You know what I'm saying? And it shaped some generation in what we should do going forward as a people in this nation. What should we be fighting for? Should we be fighting for segregation? Should we be fighting for integration? Should we be fighting for reparations? Should we be fighting for them to send us home? What should we be fighting for? It was so many different things that our leaders were trying to get and to gain. And it's important to understand why and where it is in our culture that exists. So that is what I'm saying. I'm not giving validity to Yakub, the big head scientist. I didn't call him Yakub, the big head scientist, because he was actually a scientist. I called him Yakub, the big head scientist, because that's his name in the mythology. Okay, so you know what I'm saying? I don't know like what he was saying, but is it a part of our history? Yes, it is. Oh, well, what did it do? It did a lot. You know what I'm saying? We still have leaders. We still have people here who believe that. And we can't ignore them as part of our people because we don't want to believe in it with them. They're still our people. And it's still part of American culture. And it's literally only in America that you're going to hear this story. Only here because they tailor made it to the slaves, the descendants of the slaves who were over here. Um, and they made us Afro-Asiatic, and they made us from Egypt. And because Egypt has so many great qualities about their culture and stuff, it is something that a lot of people would want to resonate with and do resonate with here. So even if they don't even take a lot of believe those stories all the way, a lot of Black people's beliefs today are rooted in these stories, and they don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? Or they take that part and throw the rest away. I don't know how many times I've argued with people that recessive genes do not just make you weak. Because you have recessive genes, now you're just like a weak individual. Your whole biology is weak. Like, no, it's not recessive. But that is part of the story of Yakub. The fact that he's saying that because white people are made of completely recessive genes, that they are a weak bodied individual. And I don't know how many people I meet who believe that, and it's based on this story. So a lot of things that we know are kind of based on this. And if you don't hear the mythology and hear that it is mythology and hear where it did come from, you'll believe it as fact and you'll believe it as science. And you'll go forward thinking that this is true. That this is true. And it's not. It's not based in actual science. So it's good to know these stories and know where they came from and know where it is in history that it was introduced and know why it is now you have so many people doing this so that you can understand what it is that you're agreeing with, what it is that you're saying, and why you think it resonates with you, and just know it's mythology. It's not real. Thank you.
It's honey coming to you straight from Cleveland. From Cleveland, you don't wanna be missing. You don't wanna be wishing. So subscribe, you sipping. Sitting back, hoping you wishing. So come on down to the bar, reload it. Anybody talking shit, then already fold it. Anybody talking shit, then already fold it. Fold it. Like, share, and comment. Like, subscribe, and comment. Like, share, and comment. Like, subscribe, and comment. We in the building. We in the building. We in the building. From St. Louis, go to bar reloaded. We in the building. We in the building. From St. Louis, go to the building. Go to bar reloaded. Anybody talking shit, then already folded.